At 8:20, we get our Thursday night football game. 49ers, which sit in 8-6 and in the 6th seed, traveling to Tennessee to play the Titans, which sit in 9-5 in the 3 seed. Niners here, right? 3 points on the NFL Network. There's a lot of injuries, so let's go through them real quick. Obviously, their running back core for the Niners have just been absolutely devastating. Talking about Elijah Mitchell has the knee injuries out for this game. Raheem Mostert has a concussion. He's on IR until this next week. So, again, you're talking about guys that you could get back for the playoff run. If you could get a running back core of Trey Sermon, Elijah Mitchell, Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, and Michael Hasty, you might be a playoff team just yet. You might be a contender just yet. Trenton Cannon's out for the year with his knee. Actually, I'm sorry. Got it backwards. I'm sorry. Raheem Mostert's out for the year. I forgot that. Raheem Mostert's out for the year with his meniscus injury. Trenton Cannon has a chance to come back on week 17 from his IR and a concussion. I don't see them using him that much, even if Elijah Mitchell and Trey Sermon are out, because, again, you still have Jeff Wilson and Michael Hasty, which are both better backs. But if you can't get Elijah Mitchell back and Trey Sermon, that would be huge. Right now, you have only 2 running backs on your roster. But let's be honest, I don't really think if you need more right now, really, for the Niners. I mean, Deebo Samuel kind of turns if your number 1 back anyways, but Jeff Wilson is their technical number 1 back, 5th-year player out of North Texas, and Michael Hasty, again, 3rd-year player out of Baylor. I mean, it's insane. It really is insane, but, I legitimately do believe as long as you are a capable running back, Kyle Shanahan could pick anyone up and he would put him into his system and he'd be successful. I mean, just look at Jeff Wilson, Michael Hasty, Raheem Mostert, Elijah Mitchell. These were not big names coming out of college. We forget that. We view Raheem Mostert as a good player, right? Everyone forgot about him. He went to 6 or 7 other NFL teams, and he went here and thrived. You have Elijah Mitchell, a 7th-round pick. Every team passed on him. The Niners take him in the 7th round. He is competing for Offensive Rookie of the Year before he gets hurt. Michael Hasty, a 3rd-year player out of Baylor, no one drafted. Jeff Wilson, 5th-year player out of North Texas, no one drafted. These are the guys that Kyle Shanahan is just injecting into his system, and it's working. He's such an insanely great play caller in the ground game. It's really good. I really love watching Kyle Shanahan call a game and make these no-namers so good. And the thing is, if you're like Jeff Wilson or Michael Hasty or Elijah Mitchell or Raheem Mostert, you know that it doesn't really matter if I stay or go. So it's really difficult for them for contracts because you don't have to pay them a lot. You don't. It's not like a star running back where you're like, okay, Alvin Kamara's going to get a lot of money, right? If Raheem Mostert leaves, they're like, okay, we're just going to go with Jeff Wilson or Michael Hasty. Not a big deal. It's just you can't demand too much money, and if you go to another scheme that will pay you that much money, I mean, good for you, but you might not succeed there because it just isn't your stuff. I mean, Raheem Mostert didn't succeed anywhere until Niners, so it's really kind of interesting on that side of things. The defensive side of the ball is kind of hurt for Niners. That's the only real position in need. You could get Mohamed Sanu back for this game, which would be kind of interesting for the 49ers, how he'd be incorporated in the offense again. But that's really the only thing. No real tight ends injuries of note, no offensive line injuries of note, definitely no quarterback injuries of note. Defensive tackle, you have 2 significant ones, Javon Kinlaw. Obviously, his ACL injury, he's out for the year, and Maurice Hurst has a calf injury, he's out for this game. So you got Contavious Street is your number 1 option, 2018 4th-round pick at NC State. On the other side, you got DJ Jones, 2017 6th-round pick out of Ole Miss. And then you got Kevin Givens, who's going to be kind of the guy that fits in. You need a rotation. A guy's tired, or if someone gets hurt, it's going to be Kevin Givens. There's your player out of Penn State. Defensive end, D. Ford. He obviously has a back injuries out for the year. So the starting 2 are going to be obviously still Eric Armstead, 2015 first-round pick out of Oregon, and Nick Bosa, 2019 first-round pick out of Ohio State. That's going to stay the same. But D. Ford was kind of the number 2 guy on this team, the number 3 defensive end on this team. So that's going to really go to Arden Key, 2018 3rd-round pick out of LSU, or Samson Ebukam. I'm leaning towards Ebukam because he's a more well-known pass rusher, 2017 4th-round pick out of Eastern Washington. Charles Omenihu was a player they traded for from the Texans. He was very good at Houston, so I'm going to be interested to see how he's involved in this offense. 2019 5th-round pick out of Texas, and then Jordan Willis, just kind of a depth guy, 2017 3rd-round pick out of Kansas State. Weak side linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair has an elbow. He's questionable for this game. If not, Marcel Harris is going to be the starter, 2018 6th-round pick out of Florida. Dre Greenlaw is out with a groin injury. So Demetrius Flanagan fouls. Third-year player at Arizona is going to be starting in this game. Some corner injuries of note. Emmanuel Mosley has an ankle. He's on IR at least until week 18. And Jason Barrett's out for the year with an ACL injury, which means Kawan Williams, 8th-year player at Pitt, and Josh Norman, 2012, 2018 fifth-round pick out of Coastal Carolina, are going to be the two starting corners. DeAndre Lenoir, 2021 fifth-round pick out of Oregon. Ambry Thomas, 2021 third-round pick out of Michigan. Going to be kind of the number 3, number 4 options on this team. And then finally, as a depth role that likely won't see the field unless some injuries happen, Dante Johnson, 2014 fourth-round pick out of NC State is their 5th corner, I guess. Safety's got some serious injuries. Talanoa Hufanga has a knee injuries after this game. Tavon Wilson has a foot injury, is out till at least next week on IR, and Travarius Moore has an Achilles injury on the PUP list. So that means you got Jaquiski Tartt. Your two starters are still the same. Jaquiski Tartt, 2015 second-round pick out of Samford, and Jimmy Ward, 2014 first-round pick out of Northern Illinois. But now their injury, their guy that will come in from injury goes from one of those other 3 players to Kai Nakua, 4th-year player out of BYU. So it's just kind of an interesting thing, is that if a safety gets hurt, it's kind of really bad, and your nickel defense is going to, obviously you're going to have a corner, or probably going to have a corner in anyways, but you're definitely having a corner in your nickel now. So that's kind of interesting on the Niners side of the ball. The Titans, on the other hand, obviously, everyone knows them is super duper hurt. I don't think, everyone, I do get it. They were really hurt. Starting to get some of their primary players back, their good players back. Obviously, their running back position has been a position that really kind of sucks if you're the Titans. Derrick Henry, obviously on IR at least till the last week of the season, week 18. So that obviously hurts. Derrick Henry's arguably the best player in the entire NFL. Darrington Evans, which doesn't sound like a big injury, but it is now that Derrick Henry's out, because you simply don't, you used to have on your roster Darrington Evans, Derrick Henry, and Jeremy McNichols, but instead of having Darrington Evans now, he's on IR with his knee injury. You had to pick up some guys at free agency. And Deontay Foreman is now the number 1 back, and I'm just kind of impressed. This is a guy that was on no team, right? This was a guy that, had to have been thinking, that might have been the last time I saw a football field. Which kind of hurts, considering you're a 2017 third-round pick out of Texas, and you might be thinking you might never see the field again, and then you get this chance with the Titans. And you gotta think you keep him on your team for Tennessee. He has been your offense. When your offense has looked weak, and I understand, obviously when Derrick Henry's back, he has that job by a lot, but you gotta think you'd find a way to use Deontay Foreman somehow, because he's just been such a solid player for them. Dontre Hilliard's another one, 5th-year player out of Tulane, again, probably thought he saw his last snaps in the NFL, running back, and Tennessee gets injured. They're just trying to find a solution at running back, and Dontre Hilliard signed, and he's kind of stuck. He's stuck in Tennessee, and he's done a good job. And then obviously Jeremy McNichols has been on the roster for a long time. 2017 7th-round pick out of Boise, 5th-round pick out of Boise State. And it's kind of interesting. I've never thought of Jeremy McNichols as all that good. I really, sorry all you Tennessee fans out there that really kind of like Jeremy McNichols. I've never seen him as a good back in the NFL. Now, to be fair, I haven't seen him a lot. He has not been a back that has been used all that much, because, again, you have Derrick Henry. So there's no real point of using Jeremy McNichols outside of passing downs. But again, I feel like the injury to Derrick Henry's kind of proven my point about Jeremy McNichols. It's just like 2 guys you sign off the street are immediately higher up the depth chart than the guy that you've had on your roster. It's just Jeremy McNichols is a passing down back, and that's it. And there's some merit to that, but he's just not an overall good running back in the NFL. You get A.J. Brown and Julio Jones back to this game, 2019 second-round pick at Ole Miss and 2011 first-round pick at Alabama, respectively. The injuries to wide receiver are really, again, those were going to be the number 2 receivers anyways, and actually they're getting healthier at receiver. But the number 3 and number 4 are kind of interesting, because you have Nick Westbrook-Ikeen, third-year player at Indiana, Chester Rogers, 6th-year player at Grambling State. Those are guys that would have been lucky to make the roster if the 3 wide receivers... Again, if these 3 wide receivers didn't get all these issues. If Marcus Johnson has a hammy injury, he's out for the year. Cameron Batson has an ACL injury, he's out for the year. Desmond Treshwick has COVID. so he's out for this game. You just got to think if those 3 players are healthy, then neither of these make the roster. I mean, maybe Chester Rogers, maybe simply because you could get to 6 receivers that way, and Chester Rogers has shown his ability to scheme his way open. But simply put, I mean, like this, these are players that could have likely not been on the roster if injuries didn't happen. But injuries do happen, and these guys got to step up. So I'm going to find it rather interesting how the Titans are going to try and bounce back from their loss last week. They have some injuries on the offensive line that I think is insane. Left guard Roger Sadfield out with COVID. That's bad, but you got Aaron Brewer to back him up, third-year player at Texas State. What's really kind of interesting to me is the Titans had 3 tackles on their team, right? One of them's healthy. The right tackle they have is healthy, right? Left tackle's Taylor Lewan, right? He's out with a back injury, which would have been normally fine, right? You have Kendall Lamb, who's like a swing tackle who can play both sides. He is your backup offensive tackle. He got COVID. So no offensive tackles on your roster. You're already out a left guard, so you're going to have to insert one of your offensive linemen in, which means only 2 offensive linemen are without a starting job. One of them is a rookie out of Wisconsin, Whitewater. Don't really want to put him at offensive tackle. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see what they do at offensive tackle. I honestly don't know. ESPN depth chart had no clue. Like, literally no one was lifted out for Kendall Lamb. That's going to be kind of an interesting thing to watch in this game. Trayvon Conley, defensive end, they lost him for the year with a foot injury, and Larali Murchison is out for this the game with a knee injury. They have only 2 healthy defensive ends in. That's Jefferson Simmons, 2019 first-round pick out of Mississippi State, and Danico Autry at 9th-year player out of Mississippi State. Left inside linebacker, you have 2 injuries. David Long has a hammy, he's out for this game, and B.J. Bello has an ankle, he's out for the year. So starting is going to be Jayon Brown, 2017 fifth-round pick out of UCLA, and Joe Jones is going to be their backup 6-year player out of Northwestern. Corner, they've had some injuries, obviously, as well. You had Caleb Farley, your first-round pick, player that's supposed to turn your secondary around. He goes down with an ACL injury early in the season. He's out for the year. Elijah Molden is out this week with COVID. Elijah Molden has been kind of a sensation at corner, so it's going to really hurt for this game. But on the bright side, you do have Janoris Jenkins, obviously, the veteran, 2012 first-round pick out of North Alabama, and Christian Fulton, who has been he's definitely been better this year. 2020 second-round pick out of LSU. What's interesting after that, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Busker Screen he's played some snaps in the air. 2011 fifth-round pick out of Chattanooga. But after that, these are players I've never even heard of, and I really follow a lot of sports, so I normally know most names, but Chris Jones, 4th-year player out of Nebraska. Greg Maben, 6-year player out of Iowa. Chris Jackson, 2020 7th-round pick out of Marshall. Don't really know any of these guys. They haven't played any meaningful snaps. They might have to this game. They legitimately might if there's an injury to any corner. They're going to have to play some serious minutes. So it's going to be interesting here. Both these teams are really hurt. I feel like both these teams really kind of need this one, right? If the Titans win this game and the Colts lose this week, they lock up the AFC South. That's huge. You lock up the South. The Niners, on the other hand, lose this game, you sit at 8-7, right? Which wouldn't necessarily be that bad. But then you also have 3 teams that sit at 7-7 heading into this week that could catch up, right? You don't want the Niners could theoretically lose their playoff spot, right? You have a game lead on everyone else. I mean, everyone views the Niners as like so much better than the Vikings and the Saints and the Eagles, and while they're right about most of those teams, I think the Vikings have the talent to compete with anyone. They're only a game out. Like, a slip up here could put them in a monumentally bad spot. You could lose the 6th seed and maybe even fall out of the playoff race entirely if you drop a game down the stretch if you're the Niners. I don't know about you. Like, late games seem so much more important than early games. You could drop an early game early on and everyone's like, oh, okay, you're 1-1. Who cares? Like, looking back on things, like, if you're a Saints fan, you could be like, oh, that was the game. Like, games so matter. You could be a game out of the playoffs, and that would really hurt. Like, and I'm a Saints fan. That game against New York, that was a game you should have had, and you dropped it, and you might not make the playoffs because of that game. So it's really interesting looking back on it. But this game feels huge. This game feels huge for both teams. Again, the Titans need this one to keep their hopes of the AFC #1 seed alive. Remember, the Chiefs are only a game ahead of the Titans, right? And remember, I mean, like you could if you lose this game, the Patriots are likely they might lose this week, so you could hope that they lose this week, and then you can catch it. You can get the number 2 seed back. But as of right now, Titans, you kind of need a Niners. You kind of need the Chiefs to continue losing. You need the Patriots to continue losing. You can't handle a loss like you did against the Steelers. I think the Titans really kind of need this game. I think this is going to be a bounce-back game for them against the Steelers. I think the Niners are a little bit more too overconfident heading into this game after the huge win they had over the Falcons. Give me the Titans with the upset. But everybody, this is GGB, co-host Pepper Shea. Adios, amigos.